Thank you so much for joining us for this month's podcast. This is a special month. This is April. As most of our listeners know, April is National Safe Digging Month, and OKA 811 and our member companies want to promote how important it is to do safe digging, to understand the 811 process. And as we come into spring and people are doing those homeowner projects and other projects are picking up pace because the weather is better, now is the time to remind each other about the importance of 811. So our guest this month is going to be Shane Palmer. He is a manager of USIC, one of the locating companies here in the state of Oklahoma. And we're going to talk about National Safe Digging Month, the importance of 811, some stories that kind of help illustrate that. And hopefully you walk away from this podcast with more information. So Shane, do you mind starting us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your role with USIC?
No, not a problem. Thank you for having me. My name is Shane Palmer. I've been a district manager for 2 years. I started with USIC in 2011. So it's been just a little over 11 years. I started out as a locate technician, progressed through the ranks, spent 4 years as a locator, 4 years as a supervisor, and 5 years as a supervisor. And now I'm district manager for the last 2.
Yeah, and we know you're busy. We know you're so busy that you had to do our podcast from the vehicle. So we appreciate you taking time to step away and help us out with stressing the importance of National Safe Digging Month. So National Safe Digging Month, I mean, it's been around for a while. One of the organizations that we all partner with is called Common Ground Alliance. It's CGA, and they kind of help do the promotion, got it started with National Safe Digging Month. And like I said, it's the right time of year. As we're going into the spring months, as we're getting picking up excavation activities, just reminding people the importance of what's underground. And so to begin your safe digging project, the first step is always going to be contacting OKA 811. You can dial 811 or always go to our website. Over 75% of our locator requests are done through our website. You'll just let us know where digging is going to take place, how long it's going to take, who's doing the digging, a couple of heads up tips. If you're a homeowner and you've contracted out work to be done for you, such as a storm shelter being installed or fencing or landscaping or plumbing, remember the person who actually has the shovel should be contacting us to put in that locator request so we know who's doing the work and we can understand the scope a little bit better than that third-party description. But for the most part, let us know the digging is going to take place at least 48 hours, not kind of date of notification, weekends and holidays, prior to that work taking place. And then companies who own or operate underground facilities or their locating companies such as USIC will respond to those locates and get those lines marked approximately with paint flags. So Shane, once USIC receives a locate request on behalf of a member company, what do your guys do?
The tickets are generally automatically routed to the locator for a specific geographical area. And then he prioritizes those tickets. Projects, of course, will be addressed along with the single address homeowner tickets, and he'll get to those and respond to those. You know, they'll arrive at the house, knock on the door, make contact with the homeowner, make contact with the contractor on site, let them know what they're there for, what utilities they're required to mark, and they'll go through the paint and flag process.
Yeah, one thing about USIC and some other locating companies, you may be locating for more than one member company on a site. So you may have to mark for a gas company and an electric company or a telecommunication company. Absolutely. So what does it look like when you're responding for more than one company?
Really, when it just requires multiple different flags for customer specific flags, the color coded paint, all the color or the paint colors are generally very specific to the utilities. You know, right. Orange for communications, yellow for natural gas facilities or petroleum facilities, red electric, things of that nature. The employees, my technicians will go into the backyard carrying all that stuff with them. And as they're locating respective facilities, though, they're going to paint it, color code it accordingly. Perfect. So the homeowners and the contractors will know exactly what they're looking at. Perfect.
And so the locators are going to go out. They are going to communicate. There's a mandatory positive response that is part of our law that came into play last year, and I know USIC and other companies do participate in that. That's where they're going to positive respond, saying we've been out there and it's located, hey, I'm having access issues. There's an angry chihuahua in the backyard. It's all clear. All those responses are going to be available to the excavator. And if there are any delays in locates, that communication would be there as well. So that is all great. And that's going to get the project started for you, because we're going to ask, when is our project going to begin? And once the locates are down, then it's up to the excavator to verify those markings, go ahead and dig test holes, go ahead and determine the 3Ds. This is a phrase I'm really trying to get nationwide, is discovering the 3Ds. And that's going to be the depth, the direction, and distance of an underground facility within your work area. That way, you know, to expose it, protect it, and support it before any heavy equipment come near it to prevent damage. And so the ticket process, like I said, is the beginning, but it's also the continuation, because a lot of projects in Oklahoma, we're an oil and gas state, and also fiber is going in everywhere. A lot of projects don't finish within 14 calendar days. And that's how long the ticket life is. So if a work project is going to go over that, they should always extend the ticket life by contacting us at least 2 business days, not counting the day of notification, weekends, and holidays prior to the expiration. Shane, that being said, you probably see a lot of large projects or continuing projects going on.
Yes, the amount of project work has grown exponentially over the last 2 years, especially. You know, anytime we get an update, it's treated like a regular ticket. You know, my technicians are required to respond, again, make contact with the homeowner, make contact with the contractor. And what they'll do at that point is they'll go out and they'll freshen up the marks. They'll update the paint, they'll update the flags. And in areas where the marks have been wiped out, destroyed, they're required to hook up and remark those facilities all the way through the scope of the ticket.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point for our professional excavators who do have projects that are ongoing, or a homeowner who thought they would be done within 14 days and it just didn't happen. Don't trust your memory. If markings ever become wiped out for any reason, we do strongly suggest giving us a call. Wait, it's a free phone call. Obviously, the service is free. Let them come out and mark again, because if any damages do occur where there aren't fresh marks or you don't have an active ticket, you could be responsible for those repairs, and we want to avoid that at all possible. And of course, repairs is the least that could happen. You could get injured or worse, so we want to make sure that we're avoiding that. That being said, I feel for our locating companies. They are worked hard. If our listeners aren't aware, I think I've bragged about us already. Last year was our first year that we had over 1 million tickets processed inbound. So that means 1 million comes in. An average of 6 companies are notified on every ticket. So that means 6.5 million tickets were responded to by locating services, whether it's a third-party locating service or the member company directly. How has that affected your workflow? How's work? Let's just put it that way.
Work is consistently busy.
Yeah,
that's an understatement.
Right.
You know, it's good. It tells me that the communication that the one call is putting out there is actually working. There are more people that are hyper aware of the facilities that are in their backyard. They hear the commercials, whether it be on TV, radio ads, things of that nature, and then they think to go ahead and make that free call. Just the sheer volume of project work and even homeowner tickets have grown 20-25% over the previous year. So you know, that just tells me that people are getting the work.
Absolutely. And there are some things that we're looking at to help our locators and our member companies respond to these tickets. We are looking at updates, and are they necessary? That's something that the entire system is designed for communication. But if communication isn't needed because work isn't taking place within the next 14 calendar days somewhere, go ahead and let that ticket expire and then have it relocated before you do go back out to that location. And that'll help as well. That's something that I know I've talked with many member companies about, is cleaning up the waste. And if we can get rid of that waste, then our locating services and member companies can respond to where digging is actually going to take place, and hopefully that communication will improve. So between mandatory positive response and understanding what is considered an unreasonable or excessive update ticket or locate request that's not taking place, then hopefully it'll clean it up and our locators can get back to, I know you'll always be busy, but at least a controlled chaos, if you will.
It stays controlled chaos, to be honest with you, in our industry. the time of the years, the weather, everything's very dependent. Like I said, it's kept us busy over the last year. We've grown to try to keep up with the demand. Our equipment's better than ever before.
Outstanding.
Our training is better than ever before. So hopefully it's providing, in the long term, a quality product for the contractors and homeowners that call in these tickets.
Outstanding. And that is something that I appreciate with you and all of our member companies, as well as other located companies for that matter, is the understanding that this is a collaborative effort. We all have to communicate with our excavators the importance of safe digging and the importance of using 811 to get those underground facilities marked. And then our member companies with their public awareness and damage prevention programs, partnering with us to get the word out there, whether it's commercials or podcasts like today, or then of course our locating services getting out there and marking accurately, improving the communication to the excavators and keeping those excavators safe. So that is huge to all of it. It's just understanding the collaborative effort that it takes. So you and I have both been in our roles for over a decade. So I'm sure that through our times, we've seen or heard some stories of maybe someone not utilizing 811 like they should, or maybe they did and maybe not fully grasped the importance of it. So I always kind of like to end our podcast with a story to kind of emphasize the necessity of 811. And does anything come to mind for you?
The most severe one that I ever witnessed myself. I mean, like you, I've heard of many bad issues, close calls, injuries, things of that nature. But this is one I specifically witnessed. It was a contractor that had a crew out on a job site, and they were working on a gas regulator. And it was for a high pressure gas main. And it was, customer was on site. It was just routine training and certification to be able to work on this type of facility.
Gotcha.
And they were digging down around the riser, and there was a stub of about 2 inches sticking off the side of this that had, due to erosion, been covered up by dirt. Well, when their equipment grabbed a hold of that, it broke it off, and they had 600 psi of natural gas coming out of a 1 inch, inch and a half diameter hole. The end result was 3 members of the crew and the customer representative getting burned by pressure burns just from the sheer volume of the gas that was coming out of that hole. The employee rep spent 2 weeks in the Baptist burn unit.
Wow.
And it did not ignite. It was just sheerly from the pressure burns of that gas escaping. Wow.
Yeah, that's intense. And those are the things that I want to stress. And a lot of people who've heard our podcast know this story. I can tell you selfishly why I don't want damage of underground facilities, right? I want to be able to take a shower and watch the football game. I can tell you the selfish reasons. I can tell you about the vulnerable in our community who need that heat and air, who need that electricity, the ability to call 911 if they have a fall. Like we can remind people of how important the services are, especially now that a lot of us are working from home. We need our internet just to be able to do our jobs, right? So we can talk about the community and of course the bottom line of our member companies. We want to make sure that they can give me the internet and I can pay their bills, right? So those things are also true as well. But ultimately, my member companies are vulnerable in the community as well as myself can all simply say the safety of that excavator, the safety of that person who's actually taking the risk, digging around those underground facilities. That's the reason we do what we do. It's not the bottom line. It's not the fact that I need to take a shower. It's not exclusively because of the vulnerable in our community. It's because if that excavator is safe and there's no disruption to service, then everything else takes care of itself. And so that's why we do what we do. And I know our locating services like USIC know that that's a point of emphasis as well.
Yeah, we tend to, I push it with all my new hires. I reinforce it with all my employees all year long. I view it more as a public safety job. Mm-hmm. The responsibility for us to mark them accurately and make sure that they stay marked. That's one of those things. We're marking stuff for our customers. Of course, our customers pay us to do that job, but we're warning the contractors, we're warning the homeowners that there's something potentially under the ground, because we do mark things that can and will harm people or have the potential to harm people. And so, I don't want that hanging over my head and keeping me awake at night because somebody got hurt because we didn't do our job.
Exactly. And that's one role that I take very seriously. I'm education outreach, and that title, I mean, there's outreach. That means there's people who have no clue who we are. I remember working at the State Fair booth a few years ago. Someone walked by and I'm like, hey, do you know who OK11 is? And they're like, yeah, that's that radio station. So like we're getting there, right? The outreach, we're working on it. And then the education part comes into play. I had a phone call earlier this week. A gentleman called and let me know that he had a near fatality accident and he wanted to talk to me about what happened. And of course I took the call and we were talking back and forth, and he's like, yeah, I was installing a storm shelter and I hit a propane line and I hit a telecommunication line, but the scary part was I hit a 220 volt electric line. And I was like, wow, okay, let's talk. And so I was like, do you know what happened with the propane line? He goes, yeah, no one owns that. I was like, okay, good. I needed to hear that because that's called a private line. And when you're a homeowner or doing work on private property, there's private lines. This is where a utility that owns and operates underground facilities turns that service over to the property owner. So it could be water lines from the main or secondary electric lines. Keep that in mind. So we started with the propane line, which no utility owns, right? That's from the propane tank to the house. He had a communication line, which there were any telecommunication companies on the ticket. So he assumed it was a dead line. He's going to try to find that out. But when he hit that 220 and was scared, and rightfully so, he complained and he thought the electric company should have been responsible for it. And I looked at the ticket and I realized that it was a secondary line that was from the home out to another building in a rural area. And so once an electrician comes in and installs that secondary line, that's something to keep in mind. If the electric company themselves aren't the contractor who installed or put in that line, more than likely that means the repair or maintenance of it, as well as the protection of it, falls on the property owner. So I do want to stress that National Safe Digging Month, I can tell you everything great about 811, but I never want to let someone think that it's a one call fixes everything. We want you to know that, hey, if you're on private property or there's private lines in the area, to keep that in mind, make that additional call if need be.
Absolutely.
Okie 811 hosts live webinars every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. local time. These webinars cover a wide range of safety topics for both members and excavators. If you attend our live webinar, you will receive a certificate of attendance. And if you aren't able to attend the live webinar, register anyhow to receive a recording of the webinar the following day. To check out our webinar schedule, go to the Education Events page on our website, okie811.org. If you have questions or suggestions for topics for future webinars, please contact us at education@okie811.org.
With that being said, like I said, with National Safe Digging Month, we look to our partners to spread the word, and I know there's going to be opportunities for us to work together to promote National Safe Digging Month coming up. And these stories, like we just shared, is the reason that we do this. So Shane, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this month's podcast, and I look forward to working with you on some other promotional ideas that we're going to work together on. And to our listeners, if you have any questions about how you can promote National Safe Digging Month, or if you have questions just about the process at all, do not hesitate to reach out to me. You don't have to memorize my name, just the word education at okie811.org, and we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you so much, Shane. Any final words before we let you get back to work?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I had fun, and I look forward to doing it more in the future.
Thank you so much, Shane. Yeah, pleasure's all ours. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Have a good day.